Time to sound off, Husker Nation. This is your Real Red Reaction Show on Lincoln's KFOR. Call the show now at 402-489-1240.
Back here at the Single Barrel Real Red Reaction. We're powered by Slim Chickens. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal will check in with the Pride of Fairbury. Bill Dolman. Do believe Bill Hooks is going to make his way this way, and it was there for Nebraska to take. USC made plays, finished drives, and Maeva not great throwing the football, but dangerous with his legs. King Miller, a nice day on the ground for SC. Emmett Johnson did everything he could, and a tough third quarter for Nebraska. In that third quarter, they lose Dylan Raiola, TJ Lateef in, and the offense not productive. Huskers fall 21-17. Would have lost my tail on this not being more of a score fest. We want to hear from your reaction. Nebraska falls to 6-3 in the season and 3-3 in conference play. 489-1240 to get in. 800-825-5865 with Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. 14th and Pine Lake, 84th Old Shady, soon 84th and Adams. Elijah, there's a lot to get into. Nebraska had chances. You needed to play nearly a perfect football game, finish drives. And you know what? For a lot of the ball game, Nebraska, despite what they got gashed-wise on the ground by that SC run game, the defense came up with some timely plays. The defense stiffened up. The defense played a heck of a ball game. There's a few DPIs they went back. That was problematic, but overall, just not enough. We can second guess a lot of things. One being 4th and 1 and turning to a 52-yard field goal in that moment of the game versus going for it. Two, Nebraska very conservative. Now, I know Emmett was going on the ground, but TJ Lateef, they didn't really take the reins off of him at all. I know he's a freshman, but Nebraska, I thought, played extremely scared in that second half, especially when Dylan went down.
Yeah, they weren't playing to win the football game. They felt like they were playing to protect their freshman quarterback, and I didn't love it. And, hey, we don't get to see every single day at practice. Maybe they're not confident in him going out there and running the offense, but USC knew it was coming as soon as Dylan left that football game. It was screens, and it was a heavy dose of Emmett Johnson. That was an issue. You can't put this one on the freshman quarterback.
Nope.
I think, though, I said it to you before I left to come back here to the studio, Schmitty. I said, you're not going to win this football game unless you let your quarterback go and be a quarterback. And the play calling was not allowing him to go and be a quarterback. Again, we don't see behind the scenes. We don't know exactly what the thought process is behind those play calls. Maybe they don't trust him. But I think if you want to win that football game, you got to go find out what you have. And they did not do that. I mean, was it 2 passes down the field for TJ? I don't know. I was waiting for my Uber.
He was 5 for 7 for 7 yards.
Yeah, I think both of the incompletions were down the field.
Yeah, they did go downfield, but not initially.
The 2 opportunities that you had, which I didn't love the play calling there. Hated the 2 timeouts in that one drive that ends in this field goal. That bites you in the end whenever you're taking 2 seemingly unnecessary timeouts. I said it before the game. It was going to be a game that came down to 5 to 10 plays. That one came down to 5 to 10 plays, and especially in the second half, USC was on the winning end of more plays than not. It's disappointing. It's your 29th straight loss against a ranked opponent, and you wonder what could have been with Dylan's health, but this one just didn't go Nebraska's way.
489-1240 to get in, and 800-825-5865. Emmett Johnson on the day, just tremendous. 29 carries, 165 yards, 5.7 a carry, a touchdown, but does not result in victory for Nebraska. Nebraska, when it comes to what they did through the air, this was when Dylan was in. They had the big play to Lindenmeyer for 23 yards, a handful of 14 to 15-yard gains, and that was about it. You had Nebraska that it was just critical in that third quarter. You come out, you start the drive, and you start the half, you go 3 and out, but then you get a you get that interception by Marshall. He does just a money job on that first down play. You start off at the USC 36-yard line, no points there. Your defense rises up on the 4th and 1. You get the stop at your own 46-yard line, and again, you get no points out of it. So just problematic for Nebraska. You've seen it time and time again where they have issues in the third quarter, but you can't have a drive that starts at the SC 36, 0 points, missed field goal, a drive that starts at your own 46-yard line, and you end up getting that fumble, that strip sack fumble. Steve checks in and says, this is 100% on the coaching staff. They are not top shelf for the money that is spent, and that's going to be a common refrain in lieu of this tight loss to USC. Conversely, USC, if you ask me, all they needed to do is keep running the football, and run the football some more. And this wouldn't have been such a sweat fest. I mean, USC finally took the lead with 10 minutes left in this ballgame. They trailed Nebraska for the majority of the football game until the fourth quarter. Matt is with us here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Matt, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the run defense, guys. That's all that it is. Really and truly, that's all that this is. If I was USC, I don't think I would have let Maava throw the ball. Seriously.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley kept Nebraska in this football game with some of his play calling choices.
It was terrible. I mean, they can't tackle. It's funny. The pass defense, I thought there were some ticky-tack penalties, but the pass defense was good. You can't throw against this secondary if there's a modicum of pressure. Like if they get a tiny bit of pressure, the secondary will figure it out. Mm-hmm. But the secondary can't tackle in space either. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me how you can be so good covering passes, but you can't tackle. And that's where I saw this. They can't get off blocks inside. They get sucked in too much, and then you pop a run outside. You get a stiff arm from a quarterback so he can – I mean, it's just cheap stuff like that that is all technique more than it is, and it's coaching. And I agree with you guys when you said, oh, yeah, the guy that wrote in, it's all coaching. That's all that it was. The defensive coaching wasn't adequate. The scheme itself is not bad. They were just not coached right to do the little things properly. And then on offense, you just have a mash unit now on the offensive line. And Emmett got to right up close to 1,000 yards tonight, but that was all you had because they didn't trust the line enough to get – I don't know. That's just what it looks like to me. It looks like if teams just run the ball against this team will not – like I was gonna crush Nebraska at this point. Oh. I would pick Iowa to win by 30 in that game because of the way they play. So that's where I'm at.
No, it's an ongoing saga with the rush defense. The run game is good, but is it good on 4th and short? And not always. Matt, and yeah, I mean that's going to make each unit better if you got a good run defense. It's because you're going up against a good run offense theoretically in practice, and just not enough for Nebraska tonight. When you look at what the defense did do, 4 TFLs, 3 sacks, which I thought going in, we were talking about some props, some sides for Nebraska. I thought Nebraska was pretty good pressure-wise. I mean, they made Maava uncomfortable all night long. Part of that was the coverage, too, but Butler brought in because SC was just horrific throwing the football, but they didn't need to be good. They did hit some deep shots downfield, of course, with that flea flicker to Richardson. They hit Hines on that third down was big. But for the most part, I mean, Lemon with just 2 catches for 18 yards. But SC just – I mean, Miller ran for 7.2 a carry. SC ran for 5 a carry, 38 carries for 202, and they just bludgeoned away. Thank you for the phone call. Appreciate you listening, Matt. 489-1240 to get in.
as poor as the run defense was at times, it's hard for me to put this loss on the
This isn't on the defense at all.
It's hard for me to put it on the defense. They went and got you an extra possession with a great play, Andrew Marshall. And then what does your offense do? Well, it can't go and convert it, fumbles the football away. And people said, oh, man, Dylan was bound to get hurt behind this offensive line. He also got hurt doing what he's been doing all year long, which is holding the football on too much, or holding the football too long on that play. I have a bigger problem with the play calling as soon as Dylan left the football game. Either you're playing to win the football game or you're playing to protect your freshman. And it felt to me like Nebraska was playing to protect their freshman and not let him make mistakes. Yeah, Emmett was great. You're going to need to let TJ loose at some point to go win that football game. Go let him be a quarterback. They weren't letting him be a quarterback. That looked like whenever the Denver Broncos had Kendall Hinton started at quarterback and you're like, okay, just don't turn the football over. Let's run. Let's get this game out done as quickly as possible. You weren't letting him go and play the quarterback position. The offense looked completely different whenever TJ was on the field compared to when Dylan was on the field. And that's where I have a problem, because it didn't feel to me like the offensive game plan. And hey, maybe you just weren't ready for a moment in which TJ Lateef would come on the field, which again, that's another detractor from your coaching staff. If you're not ready for the possibility that your freshman quarterback backup has to come in. But I just hated all of the play calling as soon as Rilo left that football game. The play calling didn't give the offense a chance to go win that game.
Well, and as many times as your quarterback's been sacked this year, you better sure as hell get your backup quarterback ready for a moment like this. And Lateef's a guy, and I got a bunch of SC fans here sitting in front of me. They're watching the Dodgers. They're down by 1 run here, Game 7 of the World Series. They all watched Lateef compete in arguably the toughest high school league with where Modern Day is at. You got Lateef, a high-profile kid out of Orange County Lutheran. He's seen big-time moments, at least in high school. They let him go downfield a little bit, but for the most part, it was very, very conservative. They ran it fine, despite it being the backup quarterback in. But when push comes to shove, management was bad. The decision-making cost you on that 4th and 1, and you came up empty with prime real estate in the third quarter. Tad, thanks for calling. Welcome into Real Red Reaction. Go ahead.
Thank you, boys. Thank you very much. Guys, I think we need to stop, take a deep breath. We're a bunch of freshmen on that defense, and we have a problem, which I've always said, which is our running game. But I'm telling you, if it wasn't for EJ, what would we have? We got to get everybody involved, and I don't understand why. Something's going to be said here that I think is going to offend a bunch of people. Why did you take Harburg and not put Harburg in there at quarterback instead of the true freshman? We loved his wheels, but you could tell he was like a deer in headlights. And that's what they were trying to protect, was the quarterback. Why didn't we do a reverse triple? Harburg throws it in the end zone for a TD, a trick play. These are things that we need to take the training wheels off and just start putting the ball down the middle, playing punch, playing Nebraska football. Love you, boys. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.
Dad, appreciate the phone call. I mean, that was one option you could have gone with. They've slotted Lateef as the backup. He needs to be ready, or you can't be afraid to let him fly. And if there's an interception or he makes a freshman mistake, so be it. But you can't not go down swinging, Elijah. And this is another missed opportunity. The crowd was fantastic. It was juiced. Everyone wore black, and it was made there to have a moment and a breakthrough. Instead, Nebraska at 6-3, they'll try and recover from it. We don't know about Dylan's length of injury. Rules speaking right now, we'll reset that here as soon as possible.
I haven't gotten an update, but from my view, it looked like a high ankle sprain.
Right.
With the replay and where he was initially grabbing when he was down the field, looked like a high ankle sprain, which is one of those injuries that lingers.
They do, and it limits mobility on already limited mobility. I did like in the first half. I thought that opening drive was great for Nebraska. I mean, they go down, they score, they take the lead, they jump out. The crowd was juiced into it. You held SC to a couple of field goals. SC, I understand USC's frustration with Lincoln Riley and where this team is. They've got fellas, they got dudes, they have talent, they have monsters on the lines of scrimmage, and they have all the talent there to be a playoff team. But you complain about some of Nebraska's coaching right now. I'd have a whole hell of a lot of complaints about USC because they tried to lose this, and Nebraska tried to win it, sure, but USC really tried to get cute, went away from what was working. Their preference isn't to go with what's working. Absolutely, Black Hills Brennan. If we die, we die, but not tonight, I guess. And you needed that mentality, that mindset. And I'm interested in some of the explanation for it moving forward. You now turn to UCLA, tough road ball game for Nebraska on the heels of putting a lot of ammo into this one, Elijah, with the emotion, with the buildup, with the opportunity. And you're going to have to get up off the mat if you're Nebraska. I thought SC at times looked playoff worthy. I thought at times Nebraska.
You thought USC at any point tonight looked playoff worthy?
Well, when they got it going, I'm saying with their run game.
Everyone looks playoff worthy against Nebraska's run game.
I know, but I'm saying I was impressed by their run game. Maeva, though, at 9 of 23, you're right, talked me off the ledge. But the point is this is their second road win ever since joining the Big Ten. You had them down 14-6 to start that second half, and you get nothing. One more score could have flipped this thing for Nebraska, even a field goal, which you went for from 52 yards out instead of the 4th and 1. I just don't get it with that. Now, if it goes in, you're singing a different tune, but you can still say, well, you should have gone for it and gone for the touchdown. Nebraska has had opportunities this year to seize control of football games when they're up. And against better competition tonight, it didn't happen. SC found a way and wins it 21-17. 489-1240 to get in, 800-825-5865 with Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th at Old Shady, and can stop by soon, that new location, 84th and Adams.
What frustrated me in this football game was the fact that I'll say it again. Everyone on that USC sideline knew what the game plan was going to be when TJ Lateef came in. It was single coverage everywhere for him. And you didn't give him a chance to go win that football game. They're flying downhill. They're stacking guys in the box. You had an opportunity on the outside if you trust your freshman quarterback, and you didn't go out and do it. And that's the most confusing thing. That's what I want to hear the coach's answer for. Going to be really curious to hear what Rule's postgame sounded like with that, what Dana has to say on Tuesday, because I thought from the fans to the lines of scrimmage to your skill position guys to Emmett Johnson, they played well enough to go win that football game. But whenever Rila left the game, I thought the coaching staff absolutely let them down. And that's very concerning because, I mean, so many things were going right for Nebraska in this football game. Mm-hmm. It really all flipped whenever Dylan left the game. I mean, you had an opportunity for points before that fumble. That really changed some things. Then him not being back in the football game, offense completely changed. I feel bad for the guys on that team because I think they gave an effort that was worthy going and getting that first win against a top 25 opponent since 2016. And the coaching staff let them down. I hated the offensive play calling. Even the defense, when they needed to make some plays at the end there, get the ball back, they got the ball back for their offense with time on the clock and a chance to go and do it. And you're still with 90 seconds on the clock and one timeout running the football. Like, at some point, you just have to play to go win the football game. And I don't think Nebraska in that second half was playing to go win the football game. TJ looked to me poised. I know he had that fumble on his first carry, but he looked poised. Even his downfield shots, I know neither of them were completed, but he put him in the right spot.
They were within the catch radius.
Gave his wide receiver a chance. the coaches look like they didn't trust TJ, and that's the question I want to know. Why didn't they trust him in that moment? Because he was the guy you had to ride with to go win that football game. And Nebraska looked like they were playing to not get embarrassed and not make it worse, which it didn't make sense to me.
Well, I'll tell you this. Well, the Dodgers have just tied the ball game up as USC fan, i.e. Dodger fan in front of me, going nuts. So there's that eruption of Dodger fan. They left a little early to pour a little bit of wine and cheer on their Dodgers. Rojas with a bomb to left field to tie it up in Game 7. There's your World Series update here on Real Red Reaction. But just a tough Nebraska ending tonight. You had it. You were up. You had an injury. You weren't prepared. They preached next man up, and the next man up wasn't ready. Now, I'll say this. I sit close enough to George Darlington to, first and foremost, be entertained. Second of all, he sees a lot, and he kind of mentioned to the guy next to him, all right, TJ, go play like you practice. So the quick review there was, it sounds like TJ's been practicing well, but you got to be in the moment as a coaching staff to go let the guy carry on, help out the other 10 on offense, help out the other 11 on defense, Elijah. And Nebraska shrunk from that opportunity in that moment. And kudos to Emmett Johnson again. I know we're reiterating that, but it's you feel bad for him, man, because he played his butt off. The offensive line blocked their butt off, and this wasn't to be tonight. You lose Dillon. You lost Pritchett midway through the second half as well. Huskers on special teams, really not much return opportunity from a kickoff standpoint. They couldn't get that big spark, but Latif took over from the 4-yard line, and then Nebraska wasn't in hurry-up mode at all. I mean, even the broadcast crew, as I was walking over here to the single barrel, was saying, you guys better move it. You need a chunk play, and you just got to let it all hang out in those moments, especially the final drive. If you go down 28-17, so be it. But to get the football after a stop, your defense got off the field. You had one timeout because of mismanagement in the third quarter. You had the 2-minute timeout, and you had over 3 minutes to work with. You got skill guys you went and bought. You got your tight end. You got Emmett.
And this is not an accusation, just an observation. It felt like Dana cared more about covering the 4.5 than he did about winning.
Dear Lord.
It's not an accusation. I don't actually think he had money on this football game, but did it not feel like that? It felt like a coach that said, I don't want this thing to get away from us. I'd rather lose by 4 than by 10. And I disagree with that mindset 100%.
What it looked like to me is there's only a few things I feel comfortable with TJ doing, and there's only a few things TJ feels comfortable with doing.
Well, do you want to go win the football game?
Well,
you want to protect the
I don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you why and how it shook out the way it did, partner. It comes down to, does he have the grasp and the time that Dillon does? The answer's no. Or you don't believe he has the grasp or the time. Slappy checks in, says, I thought Rule said we were done losing 1-score games. Apparently not. This is on him. This is on Dana. Chuck with us here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens, 489-1240 to get in, 800-825-5865. And Chuck, floor is yours. Go for it.
Man, that game, gosh, heartbreaker. If your defense holds USC to 21 points, you got to win that game. And Dillon's injury is a woulda, coulda, shoulda, it's heartbreaking, but I wanted to know what you guys thought about Matt Rule's extension. now after this game. It just feels like we're in the same movie over and over again. Nebraska just can't get those big wins. What do you guys think?
Chuck, thanks for the phone call.
I'll say, Chuck, I see that a lot of people reacting and overreacting to that extension. I don't think this game changes one of the most important factors of rules extension, which is the fact that you have a donor base and the folks who fund your NIL program that still believe in rule. And I don't think this game is going to change their belief in rule.
Because your quarterback went out.
That's the most important thing is, do your big money donors who fund your roster still believe in the head coach? I think they still do. If you can have unity between your NIL folks and between your head coach, you're still sailing in the right direction. That's what I'll say. The timing is poor with the extension now to this, especially with Dan saying, yeah, you got to go win games like this. But I don't think it changes the trust factor that Nebraska's NIL folks, the 1890 folks, have in Matt Rule. And if you have trust between your NIL folks and your head coach, you're in a lot better spot than a lot of other places in the country. And that's why Rule gets the extension. You don't want him to leave. You don't want him to go into this coaching. You don't want to go into this coaching carousel, especially whenever your donors still have belief in the head coach.
Well, the other thing, too, is it looks a lot better giving the guy an extension before a big game and he loses a big game by 4 points versus another awful November where you only get one win. I mean, the longer you wait to extend him and say you start stacking some losses out, which is possible, you still got to go to UCLA. You still got to go to Penn State. You get Iowa at home that looks ready for bear. So you gave him an extension before a tight loss to USC, but it could get worse this month. I don't know that it will. I don't know that it won't. But think about giving the guy an extension in December or right before Iowa in a 3-game losing streak. I mean, that's really horrible optics. This was after a win, a bounce back win, a bowl eligible win, and now you're at 6-2. And this was an elimination game to stay breathing for potentially a whole slew of 6-2 or 2-loss Big Ten teams to argue for an opportunity for a 4th playoff spot that probably ain't coming this year. We'll see what Michigan and Washington have to say about it. The here and now is that Nebraska didn't get it done. They led 3 out of the 4 quarters. Problem is once your number one went down with Dylan, it was kind of panic mode for the offense. It was panic mode for your play caller, and it was panic mode. I'm not going to say for Latif, but what they called for him to be able to do. And you didn't give yourself a fighting chance at all tonight with some of the play selection. And Dana will be questioned about that, no doubt, here on Tuesday. Duck checks in. Eric is it as well. You can jump in at 489-1240. And Eric, you're spot on. Wheels falling off. That's what it looked like. It looked like the wheels just fell off when your guy that you've put a tut on is on the sideline. I think he wanted to go back in. We'll hear from Matt Rule. Interested to get the feedback on just where his injury is. Eric not happy at all with the play calling. But Nebraska will try and get things figured out. Ed Foley checks in, the fake Ed Foley, 6-3 and on the road next week. Says they'll finish 6-6. But hey, Matt got that extension. Jeez. Jericho checks in and says, I'm tired of radio guys saying Dana is an offensive guru. And that it really isn't play calls. It's that wide receivers can't get open. Dude can scheme some stuff up, design plays, get him schemed up to get to get open. Anonymous Jr. is on the line. Welcome in, Anonymous, to Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Go for it.
Hey, Smitty. The only thing, why does Dana feel the need? Every time we bust off a long run, the running game, we got to pass the ball twice in a row. He cannot stick to the running game if it's successful. He's got to throw the ball in the air. Latif's out there. The running game's working. Run the damn ball. What are you doing? That's all I have.
All right, Anonymous Jr., thanks. Yeah, run the damn ball is echoed quite a bit. And you saw Lincoln Riley do it too in that first half where they're ripping off 15, 16, 15-yard run plays and then, well, better throw the football. Well, you get in your own way sometimes. And that's what Spindler was talking about, just in general. Sometimes offensive guys overthink. They're anticipating the anticipation. Dell is with us here on Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Dell, thanks for calling. Go for it.
Hey, my biggest thing is I just think we got to give Matt a little bit of a chance here. We're quick to criticize, but building the program, he continues to make it a little better and a little better. And it's just going to take some time. And I hope people realize that.
Oh, I think you're right. It is not an overnight fix. It's not a quick flip. It's now 9 games into year 3, and you're not going to snap your fingers and have it done. History says that his third year is kind of a major jump season, although at 2 different spots in a much different league, not the AAC and not the Big 12. But Nebraska fans are yearning for that breakthrough season and a big win. And it's been ongoing for 2 decades, not just the 2.5 years Rule's been here. He's stuck with the bar tab that they want accelerated. Kevin's with us here on Real Red Reaction.
Am I turning right?
Kevin, go for it. You're on with us here on KFOR. Thanks for listening.
How's it going? I just want to say, why do you think we are giving Matt Rule 8-year contract extension when the season's not even over?
Well, it's simple. You don't want to go into this coaching carousel with all the big name jobs that are open. And as I said earlier, you still have you have the NIL folks funding your roster that still believe in Rule. And if you have that and you don't want to go to this coaching carousel, you give them the extension to keep them around.
What you got's better than what you can get is what you're figuring.
Yeah, I'd say so. But also, do you think Raiola wanted to come back into that game, or do you think he's just sitting it out?
I think he wanted to come back in. I think they held him out for observations. They didn't want to risk further injury, worsening the injury, because he was chomping at the bit on the sideline. I think he was held out by the staff and the medical people. That wasn't if Dylan could have just ran on the field, he would have. That's my take. What do you see?
Yeah, I thought that too, but I also think that some cases that I think he should have been put back in because Latif cannot coordinate with the wide receivers very well.
He was not on target. They were throwing short passes. They went deep a couple of times, was not as on target, clearly, as Dylan has been.
And from being at the game, watching Dylan on the sideline, he could not get anything off of his back foot. It was his right ankle that was injured. He couldn't push off and get any velocity on his throws, and that was the frustrating part, I think, to him is about every single time he threw it on the sideline, he was grimacing and reaching for his ankle. He wasn't able to push off on that back foot and get any zip on his throws. He wanted to come back in, but coaching staff wasn't going to let him do that.
Go ahead.
Steven is hanging on.
Steven, thanks for your patience. Welcome into Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens. Go for it.
Hi, guys. I know I text a lot, but I thought there's a couple things I think that need some conversation. And just haven't seen a ton of improvement with maintaining the edge, on run defense. But the bottom line is, and I think if you ask Coach McBride, he'll agree with this, that if you want to win, you have to stop the run. And we haven't done that. And my other thing is the money this program spends, the money that comes in, why in the world don't we have big in caliber defense the size that needed to stop the run? And I'll just hear what you guys got to say.
Stephen, thanks for listening. Thanks for the input. 489-1240 on Real Red Reaction. Yeah, you got to stop the edge. You got to set the edge first and foremost, and then you got to get off blocks. At times, they did that. At times, they didn't. For the most part, Elijah, I think between the tackles, would you agree where the run game was most successful? Aside, of course, from the quarterback run part of this, that was problematic. Guys got put in one-on-one positions, and Nebraska's linebackers didn't make the tackle. In some instances, got stiff armed by Maeva as he kind of got loose in that fourth quarter. Stopping the run up the middle is paramount in this league. Nebraska right now doesn't have the ability to do it consistently. They've brought in some guys, they've recruited some guys, and right now the reality is they've been in the program a year or two, maybe three, but they're not at the level or the ability right now of a Nash and a tie that are your run stoppers and were great last year. You've got different body types, different abilities, and not an answer right now because everyone's lining up to go for 100.5 on you in league play.
You don't have a single guy on that defensive line that commands the respect of a double team. I think you could be one dude away on the inside, that 320-pound stuffer on the inside that you got to get moved out of there. You don't have a single guy that plays like that. You had candidates coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
You thought Riley Van Poppel was a candidate. He hasn't been that. You thought Keanu Davis was a candidate. He hasn't been that. This is not me bad-mouthing them. It's just not.
You're just saying what film says.
They don't have a guy on the inside. I think Gabe Moore is the closest you have to of the guy that if you don't move him off the line of scrimmage with one, you command two. Other teams' offensive lines feel comfortable getting to the second level. All of those USC gash runs of 15 to 20 yards, they were getting up to second level, and it was their running back one-on-one with the safety. And I will say, if you give credit to the defense, they were good at shutting down leaky yardage. Secondary was good at tackling. Whenever they got hands on a guy, for the most part, they got him down. But you had too many times USC running untouched up to a safety, getting 10, 15 yards. And that, to me, comes down to just not having guys in the defensive line that can keep the offensive line at the first level. It's not about the sexiness of the defensive line going and making a play, making a tackle. It's just the simple stuff of, can you keep your heels planted, keep the line of scrimmage where it is, and let your linebackers be free to make a play? They don't have guys like that right now. It's not the X's and the O's. I don't think it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
I will say this as well. There's not been enough havoc plays. You saw a great play by Waneri earlier in the ball game in that first quarter where he came from the backside to run down the ball carrier. Not enough of that going on with penetration into the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. Now, I know guys got to be free, but that also is them getting off blocks and making a play. I'll say this, though. I mean, Nebraska's, and one of our earlier callers hit on it, from a tackling standpoint, they just don't always, it's not the first man or the second man. There's always guys getting yards after contact, it feels like. Now, USC has some fellas. They're a team right now that we'll see how they finish down the stretch, but it was right there for Nebraska to take tonight, and they were unable to do it as USC wins 21-17. You have folks all sorts of ticked off at the offensive execution and play calling after Dylan Raiola going out. You don't like the lack of faith in kind of letting it rip, so to speak, and with TJ Lateef coming in. And the field goal was a real killer for Nebraska. A, it didn't go in. B, it's going to be a second guess play call for a long time around here.
Yeah, and I think the best way to put my feelings on this game is, I think I said the same thing after the Michigan game. Disappointed but not dejected. I'm disappointed by how they kept the training wheels on in the second half with that offense, how they kind of tried to protect TJ. They didn't let him spin it. They didn't let him go be a quarterback. That's the thing. You bring him here to be a quarterback, and whether he's a freshman or not, he's your backup. I think you have to let him go play quarterback. You didn't go out and do that. But as a side note here, if you are, let's say you're a Chiefs fan out there and Patrick Mahomes misses a game, are you disappointed if they drop it? Yes, but you're not dejected. Like, it's a tough situation for Nebraska, and you have that question of what if Dylan doesn't leave the football game. You have the question, what if they let TJ let him spin it? But to judge this team based on the play of the backup quarterback, I think is a little bit harsh. It's all right to be disappointed, but to be dejected by this performance whenever a lot of things went wrong for you from an injury point of view, where, I mean, you're patchworking together your offensive line. You got Kanak playing tackle, who's been playing guard for the last month. You have your backup quarterback playing in his real first snaps of substance here. It's disappointing, but I don't think this is one of those like unforgivable losses. You sit there and you say, man, I wish this was different. I wish this was better, but it wasn't. And you'll always have the what if question because of the way injuries happened.
You do, and yeah, listen, you don't like it, but you have a bit of an out because your quarterback went down. That's the first thing this conglomeration of USC fans said to me that are sitting at the table. Hey, you lost your quarterback. It's pretty tough to win that way. Nebraska fans, well, they expected more from the situation that was presented. And I think Latif will grow from this. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. You hope he's a good quarterback in Lincoln. We welcome in the pride of Fairbury. It's Bill Dolman.
Before we get to Bill Schmitty, we do need to take our first break. Can we take a break and then welcome Bill to the show? Is that okay? No offense, Bill. We are just about 11 business. We're 11 minutes overdue on our first commercial break.
All right, quick break. More Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens. Huskers fall 21-17, 489-1240 to get in, 800-825-5865 to dial up.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
I was in Korea April 52 to January 53. I was with the 7th Division, 32nd Regiment, infantryman. We had a lot of good times, but we had a lot of bad times too also, you know. Seen a lot of my friends get killed. And early in the morning, we moved up on these hills. We had roughly around 200, some of us up there. We came back. There wasn't too many of us left.
How many?
20, 25.
Out of 200?
Yeah. We got down the bottom of the hill. They had all the veterans laying on stretchers covered up. Then you go take a look at it, see who they are. And you know most of them, you know.
Although this conversation was recorded many years ago, the message remains powerful today. From Handyman Home Remodeling Center, we ask you to take time to remember. Always.
Mark your calendars for the 2025 Lincoln Veterans Parade, Sunday, November 16th at 2 p.m. The parade will travel down K Street from South 21st to 14th as we honor 250 years of defending freedom. This year's theme celebrates the proud history and birthdays of the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. Join us as the community comes together to honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future together at the 2025 Lincoln Veterans Parade.
I'm Siniqua Martin Green, and when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, our world changed forever. This experience made me so passionate about spreading awareness of treatment options, including clinical trials. I'm joining Stand Up to Cancer to get information to those who have been diagnosed with cancer and their loved ones. Clinical trials introduce new hope for patients, providing access to cutting-edge new treatments. Talk to your doctor to see if the clinical trial.
This is the Real Red Reaction Show. Phones are open now, 402-489-1240.
Back here at the single barrel, we have a house full of USC fans, Nebraska fans, all watching Game 7. Bill Dolman, longtime Dodger fan, member of the Davy Lopes fan club, president of the fan club.
Still a member of the fan club.
Yeah, still a member. Watching LA almost not get the force at home, got the double toe tap. And then you had two players at left field almost collide, jump, and a saving catch in the outfield to go to extras. The floor is yours, Bill Dolman. Nebraska falls tonight. Level of DEFCON, because Nebraska fans have been waiting a long time for a ranked win. They're going to have to keep waiting.
Yeah, I thought that was a hell of a show, to be honest with you. I do hope, as cool as the scene was and the show that Nebraska put on, it reminded me of the Texas game. I talk about that a lot. From what was that when on Halloween night when they came in and beat Nebraska and ended the home win streak. So it was a competitive football game, back and forth. One team was better than the other and outscored the other, and that's a great show. I do hope that Nebraska will wash the uniforms before they return them to Lincoln Northeast High School tomorrow morning. But for those of you expecting me to go off on the black uniforms, I thought it was cool. Now, back in my day, when we wore red and went, 255 and 50 and 60 and 3 and won 3 national titles in 4 years, I'm just saying. Nebraska can't stop the run. That's the whole time that I'm watching this thing. Nebraska can't stop the run.
As simple as they don't have the players to do it?
Yeah. They do not. They don't have Ty Robinson. They don't have Nash Hutmaker. They've not adapted and figured out ways to stop the run at the line. USC was getting first contact 3 and 4 yards down the field, and then making a move and picking up 13 and 14. There's no point of contact at the line of scrimmage. The surge of the USC offensive line was very similar to what Michigan did, and USC's offensive line is not as good as Michigan's. But the point of contact is 3 or 4 yards down the field, and then the back makes a move or continues to lean and picks up 5, 6, 7 more yards and a second down and short. That was the problem right there. The first problem that I noticed in the game. Second problem. And look, this is not an indictment against Dylan Raiola, but I said going into this game that USC had the better quarterback, but Nebraska needed better quarterback play tonight. And I stand by that. USC can do more with Jordan Maeva than Nebraska can do with Dylan Raiola. I'm not saying that he's a wizard throwing the ball all over the field, but he has confidence in receivers who get open. And Nebraska's secondary, I thought, did a pretty nice job tonight. There was the big pass play in the last drive where they got the touchdown. Look, that's going to happen in football. I think Nebraska's got a pretty good secondary. But Maeva can deal it. He finds the open receiver, but he also has the threat to run. I don't think he had a 15-yard run all season, and I think he had 3 of them today, including the touchdown run. But there is the threat that he can break free. And remember, I think it was on the game-winning touchdown drive, what play did they run with him? Option. They ran an option with him, and he picked up like 8 yards on 3rd down and 4 or something. They have.
It took a little while.
You have to have in college football. You have to have a quarterback that is the threat to run. And I hope Dylan Raiola is okay. I hope that's not a severe ankle injury. He certainly is a better passer than TJ Lateef. But him going out there with a bad ankle does not change the fact that there's no quarterback run game for Nebraska. There were a couple of times when he tried to get through and he got tripped up. And I think it was in the first half. he had a lane to go, and the lineman missed the block, and he would have picked up a first down. I'll give him that. But look, Jordan Maeva can do more for USC than Dylan Raiola can do for Nebraska. And TJ Lateef, God bless him, I don't think that they were put the handcuffs on him because of what happened to Dylan Raiola. I wish they would have let him throw the ball maybe a little bit more. USC's defensive backs did a nice job covering Nebraska. I'd love to have seen him run, just take off and run a couple of times, including on the last play when EJ fell. He should have kept it. But anyway, that's my take. Nebraska can't stop the run.
Well, Nebraska can't stop the run. The what's going to hang over this game for forever, Bill, is what if Dylan Raiola doesn't get hurt? Because I thought the offense, I mean, you had a nice balance with Emmett Johnson, who I think made himself some money tonight. He's made himself some money over the last couple of games, but 29 carries, 165 yards, and a touchdown. He is a guy that if he can get some pass protection in order, I think NFL teams are going to like him. Another guy that made a lot of money tonight was Sierra Wright. You had Mekhi Lemon circled as a guy that could really hurt you. You were worried about him. Sierra Wright followed him all night. 2 catches, 18 yards for Lemon was all he had throughout the entire game. 2 guys that made yourself some money. I mean, you had performances all across the field for Nebraska that I thought were enough to allow them to go win this football game. Everything changed when Dylan Raiola got hurt, and it really makes it tough for me to analyze because I don't know what's going on at practice every single day. I don't know what's going on inside the coaches' headsets whenever they're trying to plan a second half game plan for TJ Lateef, which you probably didn't see coming. But that game plan that they had for him felt like it left a ton to be desired. I think the offensive game planning didn't give Nebraska a chance to go win that football game in the fourth quarter.
489-1240 to get in. Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens. 800-825-5865. Locations for you to check out Slim Chickens. 14th and Pine Lake, 84th Old Shady. Soon, 84th and Adams. And right now, Nebraska has 3 games left in November. You lose to SC. Do you bounce back? Do you go to work and get ready for the trip out to La La Land against they're not as dangerous. They're not as venomous, UCLA, but they're still going to be a headache. That's a tough ball game for Nebraska. You go to Happy Valley after a bye, and then you have Iowa coming to town that is just going to line up and run it. So a concern coming in, a concern in the season, and still a concern as we start November, stopping the run for sure. I mean, as we look at Nebraska's defense tonight, I mean, SC held to a season low in their offense. I mean, that was a really good performance by Nebraska defensively. You kind of made USC one-dimensional, but you couldn't stop that dimension, which is the run game.
Yeah,
because Maeva was a bit of a mess, shy of a couple of gash plays throwing the ball. But I'll say this about SC: for a team that gets in their own way, for a team that doesn't stick with what's working, i.e. the run game, and letting teams jump out on you and take a lead, or kind of keep them hanging around. I know Nebraska had the lead. They turned it on, and they got the win here. And they don't go on the road and win. I mean, Nebraska's their second road win in Big Ten play since they've joined the league. I mean, they just beat Purdue. They've lost to about everybody else. And Nebraska, not good with some of their coaching decisions, not good with some of their execution, and not good with the next man up. That's going to happen. What happens the next time? My other question is the 4th and 1. The field goal versus going for it at that point in the ball game, hoping for 3 from that distance, or getting stopped, or getting it and continuing a drive.
I'm more bothered by the fact that it ended up being 4th and 1, and they weren't more productive in picking up a first down. And look, he missed the field goal by.
They doinked it.
Yeah, but he hits the corner of the crossbar and the goalpost. So if it's 6 inches the other way, it goes through it. Oh, that was close, but at least you got points out of it. Look, going back to Lateef real quick, I say that why was he not playing the Minnesota game when the game was out of hand? You know,
get him ready.
Right.
Yep.
You got to do that. And I don't understand why, I think the worst thing maybe Matt Rule ever did was go to the NFL, because he has this mentality that every game the starter has to take every single snap, no matter what the score is. That's the NFL way. And then you just assume that every game is going to be 24-21 or 21-17. And you coach that way. Kurt Cignetti never coached in the NFL. He just goes out and kicks people's asses. But there is that mentality, well, we know the other team's going to keep it tight, so we got to keep it tight. There is not that killer mentality, and it's just you just wait for the other team to make its run so that you can counterpunch that instead of just continuing to punch. But why don't guys get an opportunity to get some snaps? I know he played against Akron and Houston Christian. Those games were sparring partners. But when the game was out of hand against Minnesota, they should have sat Raiola and let him get 15 snaps or something like that. It would have paid off tonight.
Could have.
But instead you put him in, and you're trying to see how he can do when he comes in cold. Well, we would have known that a couple of weeks ago. So I don't understand the mentality of handling an NFL quarterback in the college game. Get the guy some snaps, for God's sakes.
489-1240 to get in. 800-825-5865. Real Red Reaction powered by Slim Chickens. Nebraska falls 21-17. Drama here with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, Game 7 of the World Series, a packed house.
Did I hear correctly that Yamamoto's back in the game for the Dodgers after pitching 96 pitches last night?
He is. And he got out of it. he got out of it.
I do wish that World Series Game 7 was happening on a different night, because I don't have the mental capacity to both pay attention to that and talk about this Husker loss. Hey, I'll catch the World Series game tomorrow or something like that, but we'll see.
Oh, we'll keep you updated on it. But guys, let's talk about what's next for Nebraska. We'll hear from Matt Rule coming up here as we get close to 11 o'clock, top of the hour, and get Rule's take on things. But it's a situation where you've got a fan base, you've got a contract extension, you've got a creed to have guys ready, next man up. They're going to have to live that. They're going to have to live that in November, possibly at quarterback. They are the walking wounded on the offensive line. And you still got 29 touches to Emmett. You still got almost 170 yards. That's 30-plus more yards than SC allows. So, Dana, I thought, did a good job. I know we're ready to line up and crush Dana tonight, but I thought in that first half and even in the second half, he did a pretty good job of running the football on second down and sticking with the run game.
Well, up until the point Dylan left the game, I thought Nebraska was in position to go win that football game. I felt confident that they were going to go and do it. And then the offense, it was a complete 180 once TJ Lateef came in that football game. And I'm not blaming TJ Lateef. I am looking squarely at the offensive play calling and asking, why was that the play calling? Is that what you feel most confident in him doing? Were you scared of him making a mistake? Were you scared of ruining him? I don't know what it was, but the play.
Are we going to crush his confidence for future opportunities?
That's the first place my mind goes, because that play calling was not going to cut it if you wanted to go win that football game. If you're up by 2 touchdowns, okay, that play calling might be able to do it. If you're up by 10, maybe. But you're in a dogfight, and you got to go out there and continue calling your offense and let your guy cut loose. Go let him sling it around. You brought him here to be a quarterback. We got to see it in limited snaps against Akron and Houston Christian. He looked good as a quarterback. It felt like the training wheels were on in a game against a top 25 opponent whenever you're trying to break an 0-for-28 streak against top 25 opposition. And it didn't feel like the game plan and the play calling they had for TJ once he came in that football game was up to snuff to go beat a top 25 team. It felt like let's nurse a 10-point lead whenever that wasn't the game situation.
Bill, did you ever feel, Elijah, did you ever feel Nebraska had this in hand, or were you always fearful of this thing slipping away? I think if they get points on that drive, what flipped my optimism level for Nebraska was that third quarter. You can't start on the SC 36 after an interception. You get the strip sack, you lose the quarterback. You can't start at your own 46 and get no points. And then you open up 3 and out to start the third quarter. Those 3 drives, you needed something. That would have made it 17-6.
Yeah.
And who knows if Lincoln Riley goes into panic mode.
Well, but I think you can put flags on a couple of situations like that. I thought the opening drive may have been the best.
Wasn't it
I
good?
shouldn't say the best because I'd have to go back, but I think that was one of the absolute best drives of the Matt Rule era. They came out, well, the whole scenario, you force 3 and out, and then you march downfield just methodically and confidently, and the crowd is into it. Everything you wanted to happen in the game to start happened. I thought that was a brilliant drive. And then you force another 3 and out. Now comes the first red flag or black flag. Can we go back to red for a little bit? The first red flag in the game was after you score the touchdown, you force a second USC 3 and out, and you go 3 and out. How do you not continue to capitalize on the momentum and the atmosphere and just pour it on and open up that playbook just a little bit more and show some variety? But Nebraska goes 3 and out on the drive after the game opening touchdown. I'm going, geez, here we go. Let's go back to the NFL mentality. Let's let them throw their punch so that we can now counter and finish the game 21-17. That's what I thought was the first one. And then you get the ball to begin the second half. You get the ball to begin the second half. USC is one of the best teams in the country on their opening possession in the third quarter. And Nebraska goes, 3 and out? Another black-red flag right there. And then you got the exchange of the turnovers, and then Raiola gets hurt and all that. That right there was a key sequence in the game. But I go back to not capitalizing on your early momentum. And they didn't even get a first down on that second drive. That was terrible. That was terrible.
Well, it seems like if and when Nebraska goes downtown, throws deep on first down, tries the back shoulder, tries the fade, whatever. And listen, it hit for that first touchdown. But if they're behind schedule on 2nd and 10, that's how football works. You get behind schedule at 2nd and 10. They'll hand off to Emmett. He'll get 7. It's 3rd and 3, and then it might get dicey. The other thing, we have seen the reemergence of the tight end flat route where it's not just the pride of Council Bluffs that couldn't turn upfield and get the first down. It's in the flat, and you saw Lindenmeyer and you saw Harburg not get turned around, and the speed of the SC defense came in and made a really good one-on-one tackle. Tackling wasn't as bad as it's been in some of the games that Nebraska's lost, but Nebraska still doesn't have enough juice at the point of attack where there are too many yards after contact. There's too much up the middle with the running game. And the rest of the teams, i.e. UCLA, averaging 230 on the ground, are licking their chops. Iowa's licking their chops. Penn State played with some pride and no pressure in the Ohio State game earlier today, but ended up, going to sleep. So this is going to be a fascinating November. And right now, Nebraska fans, they build it up. They want it so bad. I totally understand it. But they're just ticked off. They don't get the result they want right now. And they want accountability from the coaches, injury or not. They want to see go down swinging. They didn't feel like the team was given that chance with the play calling.
Let me ask you about when was the last time Nebraska had a concerted effort, or that it was shouldn't say concerted effort, where the long pass down the middle of the field was actually part of the game plan and not some pull a rabbit out of the hat every 5 games.
I don't know why they're.
I mean, there's so many of the deep balls. You allow the sideline to become a defender.
Why not get it to Lindenmeyer in the seam?
Yeah, or anybody in the key in the seam, Hunter in the seam. Everything to Hunter is that screen pass, the bubble or not the bubble. They scored on a couple of times.
Jailbreak.
Or it is a pass along the sideline. When does Nebraska send anybody down the middle of the field and make that part of the game plan, the passing game? Everything is to the sideline, and the sideline becomes a defender in addition to the defender. Very rarely does Nebraska go just down the hash marks and try to beat somebody one-on-one. That's one of the reasons why one of the fastest guys in the program is at Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Elijah, quick timeout. We'll get to Rule.
Yeah, we can do that. I do want to make the quick note here, though, that, like, what's the right way to put it? We'll go to break.
No, what were you going to say, dude?
It was a half of a thought, and it was fleeting, and I got distracted looking at the clock. We'll go to
rekindle that thought. We'll take more of your phone calls. 489-1240, Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens, 14th and Pine Lake, 84th Old Shady, and soon to be 84th and Adams. Get Slim Chickens today. More of your comments in the stream. We're trying to get to as many as possible. Folks are beating up on Rule for his ranked record. Folks are beating up on Rule for his extension. Folks are beating up on Dana for the play calling. Tough where it was there for you to take it against an opponent that likes to give way before Christmas.
This is where I was going to go. The place I don't want to see blamed today is with the effort of anyone who was playing in between the white lines on the football field.
They played their ass off.
I thought that team gave it their all. They gave a championship level of effort. The run defense could have been better, but I think with as well as you're running the football offensively, holding USC to 21 points, no matter how they got those 21 points, you gave yourself a chance to win. You also won the time of possession battle in this football game. You had fewer penalties than USC. You played a good, high-effort football game, and I think he got let down by a couple of injuries and the fact that the play calling in the fourth quarter didn't feel like they were going out there playing to win. But I don't want to hear any discredit to any of the players because they played their tail off all night long. And so many aspects of this game, you look at it and you say, man, those guys in the field wouldn't played well enough to go win the football game.
Folks are hot about the 4th and 1. Gray Woman 79 commenting says it was an interesting Matt Rule press conference. We'll all hear it for the first time when we come back. You're listening to Real Red Reaction, powered by Slim Chickens here on KFOR.
Nebraska UCLA set for 8 p.m. on Fox.
Okay. 8 p.m.
Breaking news.
So we're going to have 60s next week. You guys down for steak and a beer?
Yeah, like right now?
Well, we'll do that. We can always do that at the single barrel. Plenty of whiskeys, steak, beers, all that good stuff. Time out here on KFOR. Matt Rule. More thoughts here on Nebraska falling to SC and Game 7 of the World Series with KFOR.
Mark your calendars for the 2025 Lincoln Veterans Parade, Sunday, November 16th at 2 p.m. The parade will travel down K Street from South 21st to 14th as we honor 250 years of defending freedom. This year's theme celebrates the proud history and birthdays of the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. Join us as the community comes together to honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire the future together at the 2025 Lincoln Veterans Parade.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Honey, what? There's a salesman walking up the driveway. Oh no, he's got a clipboard. What do we do? Get down. Down? On the floor, you... Shoot, did he see us? Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Let's go. You're still glowing.
flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer. An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, sis. Missed you this morning. Kim told me you weren't feeling well, so I'm just doing a self-care check.
Oh, thank you, friend.
How you doing?
Girl, listen, my energy was so low because I didn't eat breakfast when I got up, so I had to miss virtual yoga with y'all.
Trust me, I understand.
But I'm doing much better now that I've eaten, so I'm back on track.
Great. In that case, let's get some steps in tonight. I'll come over and we can walk around the lake.
Sounds good. Appreciate you being in my business, too. Now, let me get in yours. Did you check your blood pressure today?
I did that and my squats. Okay?
Okay.
High blood pressure is not going to be my friend if I can help it. See you at 6?
Let's get it. See you then.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Check in on one another and be a part of a healthy blood pressure movement. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. Get your thoughts on now. The Real Red Reaction Show is unfiltered at KFOR.
Back here at the single barrel, you have eruption as Smith goes yard to left field for the Dodgers. Bill Dolman's Dodgers, and LA up 5-4. There's a mixture of Husker fans and SC fans drinking and chanting USA, USA.
They might be Husker fans,
USA.
and they might be USA fans, but the Americans
I'm rooting for the Canadians.
started chanting USA, USA after Smith just went long.
I'll be honest here. I don't like the precedent the Dodgers have set for roster construction in the major leagues. And
Hey, everybody else can play by the same rules, bro. Everybody has the same rules, and the Dodgers just want to win.
Not
That's
everybody
the
has
bottom line.
not everybody has the same cash standing by that the Dodgers do. But
You
let's
might
not
be-
talk too
Go,
much
go,
about baseball. We
go
have-
try to win, bro.
You
We have
might be
much football to
touching
talk
on a
about.
nerve when it comes to spending and ROI and all that good stuff. Let's hear from Matt Rule. What happened tonight? Nebraska up 7-0, and then 7-6, and then 14-6, and then it was tied at 14, and then SC able to slowly take the lead and control at that 10-minute mark in the fourth quarter. Matt Rule on Raiola's injury, Nebraska's second half, the defense, and a chance to get it handled against a ranked team with momentum. And, of course, Matt Rule right now on Real Red Reaction.
All right. Obviously, credit to USC. They made the plays you had to make to win the game. Thought the quarterback really stepped up in the third quarter, made some plays on the zone read. And, obviously this is a very bitter pill for us to swallow. We had a lot of opportunities to win the football game. Really the third quarter, a couple drives there that were just, kind of put us out of whack, and then never really were able to get back in rhythm offensively to make the plays you have to make to win the game. And so, Dylan wanted to go. It didn't seem like he probably would be able to protect himself and could go. Obviously, Pritchard went down, a place we're pretty thin at already. So, we'll see how they are tomorrow. But that'll answer your questions.
Coach, that 4th and 1 where you guys opted to kick the 52-yard field goal, what led you to want to kick there versus go for the 4th down that you guys were originally lined up for?
Yeah, we thought we'd make the field goal. That was the kick line. the kick line on that side was like, hey, I went up to the special teams coaches, and they said, no, he'll make it. Seemed like a good time to take points. He's made the 53-yarder against Kansas City, kind of a similar situation. And, at that time, I just thought, hey, if we feel good about it, let's take the points. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. So, we had planned to get up there and try to utilize cadence to try to get them to jump all sides. And obviously it didn't work. We saw at the end, game came down to the end. We tried to do zone read play there at the end, and on the 4th and 1, and unfortunately Emmett got tripped up. So just felt like with kind of the way things were going, take the points. And unfortunately we missed the kick.
When it came to Dylan, who made the decision that he was going to go back in? Did he say he wanted to go back in?
Yeah, Dylan wanted to play. From a medical perspective, they were like, he can't run. He said, hey, I can move around. I just can't run. I just didn't see the respectable thing to do to put a guy out there who can't run. So, I think TJ has a bright future. He's going to do a lot of good things. And when I thought, maybe some of the, he might be able to run, make some plays. But really, at the end of the day, I just don't think you can put a guy out there who can't defend and protect himself. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So, the trainers didn't want him to go out there. But they didn't say, no, he can't. They just kind of were like, hey, he shouldn't be out there. So I told Dylan, I love you too much to ask you to play when you're hurt like this.
When TJ was in there, how much of your playbook, how much could he handle what you guys wanted to run in terms of putting in the game plan this week?
Yeah, I mean, he did all the things in practice. We had to go to a wristband, just some of the verbiage and all that stuff. He doesn't get as many reps at it, so I think some of that stuff, on that one drive in the red zone, the play we fumbled the snap. I think we'd have walked in on the screen. We had a great play versus zero call. And so, but, he did a good job. And I had to call timeout one other time where we were just kind of a little discombobulated with how we were lined up. And so, your first time playing in that situation, in that crowd, in that atmosphere, thought he did admirably. And if he has to play next week with the full week, I think he'll play really well. So proud of him, proud of his effort, proud of the way he went out there and did it. But obviously, anytime you're starting quarterback, you lose your starting quarterback and a freshman goes out there, it's going to minimize some. And I think just some of the things just, had to get into the huddle a little bit more so he could communicate it. Obviously it's not what we had planned on, but it is what it is.
How would you size up the defense tonight? They obviously good first half. Those 2 long pass plays got you in the second half a little bit. Yeah, I mean, anytime we give up 200 yards rushing, we're not going to be happy. At the same time, I don't think anyone's held them, for 21 points very often. They were explosive, and so I thought they had some really, really good moments, some valiant moments. But we lost the game, so we'll have to get better. Now, what was your view of the play that Dylan got hurt on? It looked like kind of like chaos back there in the pocket.
Yeah, we had run the ball, and then he called a play action pass. So it's a kind of a one-on-one shot to Dane, and I have to see the play. I haven't seen it. I think you would say to yourself, I think in that play, you're not thinking, it's maxed up protection. Like, hey, we're taking a shot, not there, get out of it. I think Dylan was trying to make a play and then ended up, unfortunately, getting him hurt. I'd have to see exactly, what happened to see who, what, when, where. But, we had good rhythm. We were running the football. And so he ran that play. He ran that play again. He actually called the play action pass once before, and Dylan audibled it to the run because of the coverage they were in. We had the one-on-one coverage. He said, I'm going to take a shot to the receiver, and just, the guy maybe felt like the guy wasn't covered, and then just kind of held it and started running around. So in that situation in the red zone, we just get the takeaway. We'd love to just protect the football and get out of there and, get away with points. But again, I look forward to seeing the play on tape.
How good did you feel at that moment? 14-6, you just got a turnover. You're in their red zone, like you said.
I think for us, we know, like I said, I think you guys would know better than me. They score a lot of points a lot of times, right? So we knew we were just going to have to keep playing, right? So it wasn't like any one play was going to win or lose the game in the third. We were just kind of like, hey, kind of going back to the decision to take the points instead of going for a fourth one. It was just kind of like, hey, let's just keep collecting points. I felt like it was just going to be a battle to the very end, and so we punted the ball. We get that takeaway by Marshall. Obviously, it was a great play, a great adjustment by him, and then we have the turnover, but you're just going to keep battling back and forth, and try to make more plays, at the end of the game to win the game. And, they ran the flea flicker that, obviously flipped the field on us, and then got the pass interference call to put the ball down in there tight. Other than that, we were holding people, we've done a pretty good job of holding them to field goals, until then.
Is there do you guys have a flip the field play that you considered there, even though TJ was in the game, with knowing that it was probably going to be hard for him to do all the things that
Yeah, I think we threw, I don't know the exact amounts. We threw a couple balls down the field, like the same kind of plays to Isaiah and some different guys. I mean, at the end of the day, we were right there with them. Twice they made contested catches, made good plays. And so, our DBs made a lot of plays on the ball early in the game. They made a couple plays at the end. But, we did put a couple shots up there for TJ and to those guys. And then, a lot of things were just read out, right? Like it's a shot to a check down. And, we called a double move to Ja'Cory, similar to the one we ran against Michigan State, and TJ scrambled on it. So, I think we called some of them. It just might not seem like that when you're kind of watching it.
you kind of expect them to run Mayava that much and that way that they did.
Yeah, we knew the way we were playing them early on that they were going to, we were chasing the counter. We knew they were going to do that. There's always a player for the quarterback. A couple times the player was there and Mayava made the play. So, at the end of the day on defense, you have to get off blocks and tackle and make plays. And he made some nice plays. John made the adjustment after that to kind of, hey, we're going to play the quarterback more. And, that led to like that at the end. We had a nice play where we got the quarterback for a loss. But yeah, that's part of their offense, right? They'll run the quarterback when you chase the counters, and there's really nothing there. Obviously the nice trick play they ran, there's really nothing there that was surprising or, it's just kind of what they do.
Can you speak to the energy that you guys got from the crowd at the beginning and being up 7-0 after the first quarter? Did you feel like, looking back, that there was an opportunity to have done even more on offense there?
Again, like I said, Mitch, I just know it's going to be a battle. I mean, they played Notre Dame to the very end. They played it. All along I told the guys, we're going to play back and forth. It's going to come down to the end, and you're going to have a chance to win the game. And we had a chance to win the game. Could it have been better? Should it have been better? Absolutely. But we kind of knew that's what it would be like. It's a big time football game. They're in the position they're in as a result of what they've done. Yeah, I thought the crowd was amazing. The energy was amazing. The atmosphere was electric. I thought it was special. I thought our guys had some. You lose your quarterback, your left tackle. You have a couple tough breaks go against you, and you continue to battle. That's why I love these guys. So I think that's why we're probably, the loss is hard to take, but it is what it is. But yeah, I thought we had a good plan to run the football and pop some runs early that helped us.
Matt, Emmett went over 1,000 yards tonight. Can you speak on his effort, what he gave you guys?
Yeah, I thought he was, as always, elite and caught the ball, ran the ball, made plays, and proud of him. I thought our offensive line blocked and protected well, and really I think the only sack we gave up was that one on the play action pass that unfortunately got Dylan hurt. Maybe there was another one you guys will know, but no, Emmett just continues to compete and fight and scratch and claw, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get the win for him.
Coach looked like he was trying to go. When did you guys call it for him?
Who's that? I don't. Once he was hurt, they never came to me and said, "Hey, he's up." So I didn't have much. I knew, he's had a history with that ankle, and he was in a lot of pain on the field. So when I walked off the field, I was like, I didn't think he'd be able to go.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
That was Matt Rule, and talked about reps and preparation and verbiage with Latif and Dylan wanted to go back in. He wants a guy that's not a sitting duck. And the Dodgers are back-to-back World Series champs as Bill Dolman and half of Orange County erupted here at the Single Barrel Elijah Herbal. Do with that what you will.
I could care less. Let's talk about football. I don't know. Matt Rule I feel like his tone was a lot like mine, where you can be proud of the fight and be disappointed in the result. It's one of those things where I think this team probably all week long had the right mentality, had the right process. I think they came into this game with the right process. And I think you just have a poor run of luck with your starting left tackle and your starting quarterback going out in the same drive. And I don't think your offensive coordinator had any confidence in your backup quarterback being able to go out and run the offense. And I think I would have liked to see TJ Lateef get more of an opportunity. But up until that Dylan Riley injury, it really felt like Nebraska was the better team in this football game. USC was clearly better in the last quarter and a half. And I, again, come back to the what-if question. But the most disappointing thing is how little faith it looked like your offensive coordinator had in your freshman quarterback. I think you got to go out and let him spit it and let him give your team a chance. Because that play calling in the fourth quarter, I don't think gave Nebraska a chance. It was just, hey, we're going to try to sit on the ball, run some clock, and hope our defense can go out and make a stop. And whenever you're playing against a USC offense, you knew they were going to get points. They were going to go take the lead at some point. You needed to go put up more points. It didn't feel like Nebraska's offensive game plan once Dylan left the football game was let's go put up some points.
Why? He said he doesn't get the reps. Why? I don't understand that. I can go. You go back to the early part of this century after the 4-year case of the flu did what he did to Nebraska. There were times at practice when players wouldn't even tape up because they knew they weren't going to get any reps in practice. That's a fact. Okay, I'm going to dust off the VHS tapes and grab the scrapbook. But I remember so vivid. There'd be 4 stations of football. Craig Bohl built North Dakota State and Wyoming into a winner, implementing the station of football where guys got the same amount of reps in practice as the starters did.
Well,
how is TJ Lateef? Oh, he's just not getting the number of reps. How is it that Brooke Behringer could go in when Tommy Frazier has blood clots and Nebraska doesn't miss a beat? Yeah, he's got great players around him. But Jerry Godowski comes in after Nebraska has players graduate, and he's ready for his senior year. And Keith McCant's ready for his senior year because players got reps in practice and they got reps in games when games were out of hand, or they got meaningful reps when there was injuries. You didn't have this stuff of, well, he just doesn't get the amount of reps. Why not?
Well, I think there's a difference between, and I would have loved to get a clarification. There's a difference between not getting reps and not getting reps with the first team. And that's the clarification I'd like, because what I've seen from Dylan Raiola this year shows me he needs more reps at practice too. He's not a finished product. If your backup quarterback is sitting on the bench for most of practice and is not getting, they're getting mental reps, quote unquote, that doesn't count as reps. I would love the clarification. Do you mean he's not getting reps at practice or he's not getting reps with the ones? Because there is a big difference in what those two things could mean. But I mean, Dylan Raiola also needs reps at practice too. He's a guy that needs to improve. His pocket presence needs to get better. His decision-making needs to get better. He's not a finished product either. It's poor circumstances, but that's the clarification I would like. Is TJ Lateef getting mental reps? Is he getting reps with the twos? What do his reps at practice look like? Because I don't think Dana had confidence in him to go out and operate with the ones.
489-1240, and that is perfectly painted. It was a lack of confidence. It was a, oh no, we're in deep bleep with Dylan out. The run game, despite Nebraska being one-dimensional, and if you're USC knowing that Nebraska is going to run the football, Nebraska still ran the football well. Hey, but when push came to shove and they put it in the air and didn't just keep gashing away because they didn't either feel like they could or they wanted to mix it up, you played into SC's hands with the young quarterback not delivering. And listen, this is not to crucify him. I think he's a good ball player. I think he's a heady kid. I think he's been, at least at the high school level, groomed to take on major competition and spotlight moments. But there's either something Monday through Thursday that he's limited on, aside from the obvious, and that's experience. But it better be fixed. It absolutely better be fixed. And
he might be the guy next week.
Yeah, you can't get caught with your pants down in these moments. Do you want to win the football game or not? And your head coach with some of the in-game decisions and your play caller, listen, they both know better than us because they're there every day. But it begs the question, why aren't they ready? I mean, Lateef's a guy that a lot of the football world wanted at quarterback.
Did you notice?
And they would have played him.
Did you notice Rule said he's going to do some great things? He didn't say here.
Well,
he said he's going to do. He's going to do some great things, but he didn't say he's going to do great things here. Well, look, if Dylan Raiola, I have a hard time believing that he's going to be 100% next week. Right? He couldn't come in to this game unless Miyagi's in there.
Yeah.
He's not going to be 100% for UCLA. So what does that do for Nebraska's game plan? He's not a running. You don't have running plays for him anyway. He's not mobile enough to get away from 26 sacks.
You could have zone readed SC to death tonight between Emmett and TJ.
But how mobile is he going to be if his ankle is 50, 75%, and UCLA decides to, let's just turn it loose. Let's see what we can do and put the pressure on him. And he can't get out. Latif has got to be getting first-team reps this week, without a doubt. Because if UCLA is looking at this film and going, his ankle's probably pretty bad. If he couldn't come back in, it's going to be pretty tough to get him ready in a week.
You better split your starter reps.
Exactly.
Well, Bruce and Spearfish says on the bright side, Gertie's at home. Gertie did tell you to take Nebraska in the points.
Now, we're sure that nobody painted Gertie's tail.
No,
like Gaylord Fokker.
No, it's the German brother.
All right. I was worried when I saw that. I was looking at the tail.
Well, guys, before we get out here, because we do have to get back into regular programming for our listeners listening on Terrestrial Radio on KFOR. Final thoughts on this one for the on the air folks before we transition to stream only.
You know, we always wind it down with a word, the word of the night. And that is disappointment. That's going to be the word. Disappointed that, you know, you didn't let it rip. Disappointed that you had a lead most of the game and couldn't finish. Disappointed the crowd and atmosphere brought it to the tune of 3 false start penalties against USC. Disappointed you are going to hold USC to their season low and total points and yards, and you couldn't get it done. Disappointed that Lincoln Riley tried to botch another road ball game for USC without thinking himself. Disappointed for Nebraska fans to not get that 7th victory and that ranked win.
Bill, I'll jump in here, give you a second. The word for me is just the hypothetical, because you're asking the question, what could have been with this game? We'll never know what could have been if Dylan Riley
really
stays healthy, if Pritchett stays good. I can play it through my head, the hypotheticals, if this happens, if Riley stays in the football game, but it didn't, and you didn't look prepared to have a backup quarterback come in and play meaningful snaps. So you just have to ask that question, what could have been? But Nebraska misses out on an opportunity. I don't think it's necessarily any player's fault, but the coaching staff wasn't ready for some of the hypotheticals that happened. And it's tough to pin it on them whenever. Should you have your backup quarterback ready? Yes. Is he your backup for a reason? As we found out tonight, also yes. Dylan Riley was the best option you had to win. You needed him to play in harmony with Emmett Johnson. You had that for 2.5 quarters. You lose it, and you lose all semblance of an offense, really, at least a balanced offense, and you end up dropping the football game. But you did a lot of things that you needed to do in order to go win this football game. I'm not completely dejected, because I think if some things go different, if the cookie crumbles slightly differently, Dylan Riley gets to play 4 quarters, I think there's a good chance you're walking out of Memorial Stadium with the win. But that's not how it went down tonight. That's football. The luck wasn't on your side. You make your own luck at times. And that comes down to having your backup quarterback ready to play. But he wasn't. You dropped the game. It's tough. It sucks even more because it's now 29 straight losses against ranked opponents. But this loss, I think, feels a lot different if you get a win against Minnesota on the road. If some other things in your season go differently. I am not horribly dejected by this game. You want to see how they respond. If it's a game for TJ next week, I want to see how he looks when we have a full week to game plan with him being back, what the offense looks like. It's not all doom and gloom from me after this football game. The question I just have is what could have been.
I'd agree with both of you guys. Is I was right, one word, because my word is Michigan. I said at the beginning of the season that Michigan was going to be the game that is going to determine how Nebraska's season is going to go. Because if Michigan comes out and pushes Nebraska around with its offensive line against Nebraska's defensive front, and they prove that Nebraska can't stop the run, then everybody else is going to do it too. And what I saw tonight from USC, who does not have as good of an offensive line as Michigan, is I saw Nebraska allowing running backs get 4 yards deep before contact, meaningful contact. That's not stopping them. That is meaningful contact. And then they broke it free for another 10 or 15 yards, and they got big plays. And so Michigan exposed Nebraska's run defense, that you could beat Nebraska by just pushing them around. And other teams have tried it and had some success. Nebraska's just been a little bit better, like Michigan State. But Minnesota did it. Just pounded at them. Just pounded at Nebraska's defensive front, and you're going to break some big plays at some point. And that's exactly what happened. So Michigan, as I said at the beginning of the season, was going to expose Nebraska, and they did it. I agree with you, though. It's disappointing. Hypothetically, what would have happened with what might have been, all that. It was a great show. Nebraska does home football games as good or better than anybody in the country. And this was a great show. People got their money's worth. They just left with an ending that wasn't satisfying. But that was a great night for college football, and Nebraska played well at times. Could they have won the game? Should they have won the game? Yeah, probably. But I think that they're better than UCLA, and they might pick up a road win next week.
That'll do it for us on air at KFOR, KFORnow.com as we switch over to stream only. Find us on YouTube, The Average Joe Sports Show, Real Red Reaction, YouTube, Average Joe, Twitter, AJ Sports Radio, KFOR Facebook, and KFOR Radio on Twitter.
And we keep it here as Real Red Reaction rolls forward. A lot of reaction, guys, to Nebraska's run defense tonight. And I can agree, there needs to be a lot of cleanup in the offseason regarding Nebraska's front seven and the guys that you have, the pieces you have in place in order to go stop the run. But could you also make the argument that Nebraska, pre-Dylan Raio's injury, was in a place where they could have won this football game despite the fact that they were going to give up 200 yards on the ground? I mean, the fact that you gave up 200 yards on the ground to USC and only gave up 21 points is a testament to that secondary. It's a testament to the game plan that you had. I think you were in position to win the football game despite the fact that USC was gashing you on the ground. And part of that comes down to Emmett. Your 188 rushing yards is close enough to USC's 202. That was one of my keys. You need to match or exceed what USC did. That's close enough to me. I think you matched their rushing performance, which is a positive. Even whenever USC and every fan's mom in the stands knew what was coming from Nebraska's offense when TJ Lateef was in there, which was going to be screens and running the football, they were still able to rack up some rushing yards. There are reasons for encouragement leaving this football game. One of them is the fact that Nebraska's run defense is bad. USC knows Nebraska's run defense is bad. They racked up the yards, and you still held them to 21 points and had a position to put yourself in a position to go win that football game.
A lot's going to go into the rest of this season where we've had the theme of make goods, right? Yeah, this was supposed to be, all right, what has Nebraska learned since that Michigan game? We know what the rest of the Big Ten has learned since the Michigan game, and that is to line up and you're going to run for 100 yards plus, whether you're Maryland, whether you're Michigan State, whether you're Northwestern, and everyone's followed suit. And then you go for two bills. Did Michigan run for two bills? I'm pretty sure they did. Also, SC did. Both those teams, and you've got some teams that are going to get downhill on you to end the year. It is not a good matchup in that aspect, but any run game's a bad matchup right now. Your point's great, Elijah. You can get gashed a little bit between the 20s. Nebraska on 2 of the 4 drives held SC to 3s and not 6s, right? USC got in their own way with what was working a little bit because Nebraska didn't have an answer for the run game. It got a little bit better in the second half, but damage was done. So moving forward here, if you're Nebraska, the job is the following. Continue to ride Emmett. Figure out who's available at quarterback. Figure out who's available on the offensive line. And schematically try and fix what's fixable in that front. But that means a throwback to the old 52 defense. Find Mike Petco, Pat Tyrants, Pat Engelbert, and John Perella.
Mike Knox.
And throw them in there, because your secondary's pretty decent, to put it nicely. They are really good. And, from a passing standpoint, make someone kill you throwing the football. Can Iowa do that? Can UCLA do that? Maeva's talented. Can Penn State's rookie do that? I mean, hell, run a Bear defense, make it so it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9. Easier said than done. And don't let him go for 2 bills on you. Just find a way to stop that bleeding somehow, some way.
You are what you are as a run stopping unit right now. The fact is that the coaching staff has to find ways to overcome the fact that every single team remaining on your schedule is probably going to run for at least 150 yards on your defense. It's on the coaching staff to figure out how to overcome that, because you are what you are. We're in November now. Nebraska can't stop the run well. Every team on your schedule knows it. Every team's going to try to run the football on you. But despite how bad it was, I mean, Nebraska was still the first team this year to keep USC out of the end zone in the first half of a football game, because they stepped up and made plays down in the red zone and kept it to field goals for USC. The fact is, USC put up 2 bills on the ground and still only 21 points. To me, that's almost a sign of encouragement that, hey, Nebraska's run defense was what it has been all year, which is leaky and pretty bad. And you still held USC's offense to 21 points, which to me strikes me as the fact that the coaching staff defensively is making adjustments and they're taking advantage, because if a team runs the football at Nebraska 4 straight plays, I think Nebraska holds it to 2 or 3 yards once out of those 4. They have to take advantage whenever a team is at 2nd and 8. And so far this year, this defense has taken advantage whenever the opponent is at 2nd and 8. And they did tonight a couple of different times. That's a reason for encouragement. But your run defense is what it is, and it's just not good.
But what did USC do? Yeah, Nebraska held them without a touchdown in the first half. Put that on your refrigerator. But Lincoln Riley and company went into the locker room at halftime and said, all right, boys, we're just going to run it right at them because they can't stop you. And as a result, they won the second half. They gauged what they could do in the first 2 drives and realized that wasn't going to work. Then they go on a couple of sustained drives, but they won the second half because they knew all we got to do is just do the simple thing, run the football. And that was that. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to say they did something that nobody else had done. But when it came to making adjustments, the adjustment for USC was we just got to simplify things. Lincoln Riley did not have to be some type of offensive guru. He just figured, all I got to do is run the football. That's it. This is going to be easy money this week. And so that's what they did. They ran the football. They let their quarterback run an option on 3rd down when the game mattered in the 4th quarter. So, yeah, you did a nice job in the first half, but after they made adjustments, you didn't adjust. So, look, I don't know what the intricacies are of Nebraska's 3-3-5, if they still do that, if they're starting to move to a 4-3 or what. But it seems to me it's like, well, this is what we started to do. It's so impossible to change our defense because Tony White implemented a 3-3-5 when Matt Rule got here. We've got to evolve over time so that we go to a 4-3 or a 5-2, whatever, or 3-4. But why not? Why can't you evolve that with some immediacy and urgency in the season to fix what has been broken since Michigan? Right? I don't understand that. Are we still running Tony White's defense? Is that what they're doing? And saying, well, until we get our players, I can't really do what I want to do. You are making millions of dollars a year as a defensive coordinator with NFL experience. How are you not adjusting in a way to put the right people in the right spot to make the right plays at the right time? But no, it's still Tony White's defense. We have Tony White's players for a 3-3-5. I don't buy that.
Nebraska has to not let this linger next week or beyond. I mean, it's going to be a tough ball game anyway with UCLA's talent and what they're good at. That's running the football. And then you've got another mobile quarterback in Nico. They just got dive bombed. They're going to be coming off a bye week. UCLA will be. What happens the rest of the season after tonight? I mean, we've done this Reformation Saturday 100 times for 100 seasons, but it does feel really, really intense right now. With you found a way to beat Northwestern. That's after the Minnesota debacle, and then you have this mood and feel of all right, maybe they get downhill in a good way in November, but now you're staring at a really salty November again, and you're going into this November with a 1-7 record as you try and build. But it's not excusable. Listen, if you're down to your second team, guys are second team for a reason. Starters are starters for a reason, obviously. But you got to have a handful of things you think your backup can do well, and then you got to have a little faith and trust in your backup to go execute and go take the game. And that's the most frustrating part you've heard from callers tonight here on Real Red Reaction, and we're putting comments in the stream, is he didn't play fearlessly. He didn't play to go win the football game. It's not like they were trying to give it away, but they were just cautious. They were too cautious, and that's not what you're about, or that's not the image and narrative you've presented in your program since the day you got here. When push came to shove last night, you got beat by a guy who's put a clinic on and given away games on the road. And that's unstomachable right now for Nebraska fans. And then it falls back on NIL and talent evaluation, and could the quarterback have gone? What's the deal with Nebraska's run defense? What's going on with Dylan? What's going on? So it's a domino here, Elijah, of frustration that lasts back to the last ranked opportunity, the Minnesota game, missed opportunities in the Rule era, and then past seasons that went to hell. I don't think this team goes there, but it's that they don't win out. They're going to be very fortunate to get one more win at 7-5, if not 2-2.
Well, I think this team's better than. I'm with Elijah. I look. I think Dylan Raiola is limited. Would he have given Nebraska a better chance to win today? Maybe. I don't know. Nebraska played to a certain extent well enough to win the game. But I think Nebraska can win any of its remaining 3 games.
Well, you can lose them too.
Well, but I don't feel as though. I think in the past couple of years it's been like, I'm not sure they can win. Maybe they might win one. Or I think the progress has gotten to such that I think Nebraska can win just about any game that it's in. And
what if
that's progress? I guess that's progress. But I think Nebraska can win at UCLA.
Well, you can see the progress on the field. The frustration is it's not getting the results that Husker fans have been dying for 10 years, which is being relevant. Does it matter if you're improved if you're not relevant at a place like Nebraska? And that's where Nebraska is stuck right now. And hey, maybe another offseason, if you get another $5-10 million in NIL to go work, is all Matt Rule needs. But that's the frustrating part about tonight, is you thought you'd be in a place where you could go rise to the moment, where even if you have to go play the backup quarterback, you have an offensive mastermind in Dana Holgerson that can dial up the right buttons for him, can push the right buttons, can get the right play calls in. It didn't look like that tonight. That's the frustration. Is I think if you are watching and you're paying attention, you can see the progress from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 to year 3 of this football program. But if the progress isn't leading to results that Husker fans want, which is beating ranked opponents and being nationally relevant, whether or not it's a playoff, that's the frustrating and disappointing part.
Vince asks a question. Bill, I'll let you answer. Can this be the end of the dress-up era?
Does that mean the Lincoln Northeast uniforms?
The uniforms, yeah.
I thought it was cool. Like my students this past week were, boomering me all over the place about wearing red and all that. I'm like, but it was a cool atmosphere tonight. Nebraska put on a hell of a show. They didn't embarrass themselves the way they have in the past when they've done the salute to the black shirts and they get beat 56-7 by Northwestern or something. They put on a hell of a show tonight. The crowd responded. It was a game that went down to the wire. It wasn't a blowout like USC came in here during the Callahan era and game was over in the first 15 minutes. So I'm okay with the black, believe it or not. I just hope that they clean them before they give them back to Lincoln Northeast. That's all I'm saying. But it was cool. No more surrender whites. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do the purple uniforms again. The ones from Lincoln High. It was a great show. Nebraska puts on an unbelievable show when it comes to home games. So if they want to do black again, I'm all for it. People will talk about tonight for a long, long time. It wasn't an embarrassment. Elijah's mentioned it many times. It would have been cool if Nebraska had won it. This would have been a game that people talk about forever. They won't now. But they'll go, yeah, we'll do the blackout again because that was pretty cool.
Guys, we'll wind down here. About 9 minutes left. More comments in the stream. If you're streaming us on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, can also dial in. Elijah can get the phone calls patched in that way as well. 489-1240, 489-1240, or 800-825-5865. A lot of arrows going at the coaching, not only in preparation, but also in game. And that is tag that's been attached to Rule in different spots is in-game management. It's also preparation for your backup. And you're frustrated that either the play calling or the moment happened and you weren't ready, but you can't have it happen again. And I don't know that they will, but it seems like they've been able to put in whoever's up next on the offensive line. And listen, you'll make it a point to get guys ready on the offensive line out of necessity. But damn it, you needed your backup quarterback ready, and that's the coach's job if the kid's a freshman.
Well, despite the fact that you had injuries on the offensive line I thought was the best unit on the offense tonight.
They still ran the hell out of the ball.
Emmett was great, but the offensive line was opening up holes for him. I thought they did a decent job protecting the quarterback. It was a good performance from those guys. That's a reason for encouragement. We've bemoaned the offensive line all year long, fairly or unfairly. I think more unfairly than anything, but they looked really good tonight. Emmett ran the ball hard. If you can bottle up what you had with your running attack and with your offensive line tonight and translate it out to the rest of the season, you'll be in, as Bill said, a position to win every single game remaining on your schedule. That's a reason for encouragement. You have a chance to game plan around your backup quarterback for next week. I thought Dana should have been better, but the true test will come next week if TJ is your guy. Okay, what kind of offensive game plan do you have for your backup when you have all week to prepare for a UCLA defense with that guy? And hey, you can really pull some rabbits out of a hat if you're Dana next week, because UCLA won't know what to expect with TJ Lateef coming in. And Bill's talked a lot about the quarterback run. If it is him, you as Dana have to earn your paycheck and make sure he is ready, because they weren't ready to have him in that football game tonight. But there were a lot of reasons for encouragement despite the loss tonight. That's kind of some of my final thoughts here is you can be disappointed, but if you're dejected, well, I don't think we're watching the same football game, because Nebraska, aside from the fourth quarter, the play calling for your quarterback and the fact that it was the backup in, I thought Nebraska did almost everything that I had circled pregame as the things they needed to do to go win this football game.
Well, we went through the checklist, didn't we? I mean, how many sacks did Nebraska allow? How many sacks did Nebraska have from a negative play standpoint, from a gash play standpoint? And it was all pretty fairly even. It just kind of comes down to capitalizing on field position with some of those turnovers. And in that third quarter, we know Nebraska's not a perfect team. We know that they've got some work to do, but it's the same story where they have a chance to build on a lead and they just don't do it. The other team hangs around through their own work or Nebraska's help. And Nebraska, had opportunities because of USC and their stubbornness on how they want to win a football game or what they want to call, and they couldn't make it happen.
Well, to your point about the checklist, Schmitty, Nebraska's defense registered 3 sacks. USC registered 1 sack. You were even in turnovers, each team with 1. You had the time of possession battle by almost 6 minutes, 33 minutes to 27 minutes. You were only penalized 4 times for 45 yards compared to USC's 8 for 49 yards. You ran the ball for 188 yards, just 14 yards short of what USC put together. You held USC's offense to 21 points and just 6 in the first half. So many things that I circled as being the things Nebraska needed to do to win this football game. They did it. And you just want to know, how different is that game if Dylan Raiola doesn't get hurt or if Dylan Raiola is allowed the chance to get through that injury?
Look, there were a couple of plays that TJ Lateef made picking up first downs that Dylan Raiola never would have done. He picked up a couple on runs, I think on third downs. Yeah, he didn't get the first down on that last drive. Granted, he came up a yard short, then Emmett trips and falls. But there were a couple of drives that TJ Lateef kept going because he could run the football. Now, the play calling is going to be different. Dylan's going to throw instead of TJ having the opportunity to run. Okay, I get that. But there's a dynamic with him that Nebraska has to be prepared to utilize that Dylan Raiola does not have. USC was prepared to run the ball with Jordan Maeva. And he got a touchdown and a couple of key plays to keep drives going on third down. Nebraska does not have that with Raiola. That's a problem. So if TJ Lateef is at least, if not the guy next week, at least getting 1B reps in practice so that Dana Holgerson, the offensive genius, can go, these are the plays that I can use if Lateef is my guy. These are the plays I'm going to use if it's Dylan, and it's not going to be limited. I know what I can do with TJ Lateef. I know what I can do with Raiola, and it doesn't include runs, but it does include that with TJ Lateef. Maybe you see an option action, just like USC ran with Jordan Maeva. All right, that's that about the quarterback. Emmett Johnson, we've talked about this before on Emmett Show.
He is so lovable. He's lovable. He is a joy to watch.
Emmett Johnson should no longer be considered an all Big Ten type running back. He needs to be considered as an All-American. To be running behind the offensive line that he's had to run behind at Nebraska with the injuries, the uncertainties, all of that, to do what he's done in this conference consistently, day in and day out, not just Akron and Houston Christian. Emmett Johnson should be first, second, third. I don't care what team. He needs to be an All-American running back for what he has done for this team this year. Bar none. I don't know who's better than the Big Ten either. That guy should be an All-American.
I'll say this. Things started out well for Nebraska in some of the situational aspects. At one point, Nebraska, I think, was 4 for 6 on third down conversions. while things were moving along, and then the injury happened. Nebraska finishes 1 for 6 on third downs in that second half. SC was very pedestrian with their third downs, and they finished 6 of 14. This is just nuts. Maeva's 9 of 23. Stop me if it sounds familiar with Cincinnati, right? I mean, yeah.
But he was a difference maker.
No, I know it was. You ran for 188 yards. You gave up 202. Penalties, SC doubles you up 8. You each had 1 turnover. And you did everything but keep your quarterback healthy. And
but we knew that was going to happen eventually.
With all the sacks they've given up. Yeah.
We've said it before, 6, 9, 1, whatever. At some point, they're going to get to the quarterback, and he's going to get hurt. And it happened. Not just because the pocket, whatever, he couldn't get away. Dylan Raiola could not get away from the pressure when it collapsed around him. We've been saying it for weeks. It's going to happen, and the backup had better be ready. And they did not have the backup ready for what we knew was going to happen. And it happened.
This is a good point by Tiger Sharp. What'd you guys think? I mean, I know he was handcuffed, but Latif, aside from that fumble, he took his eye off because the play clock was going down.
Oh, and that was set up. That was set up for a touchdown, too.
Yeah,
I think he even checked into it. It was a middle screen setup to Corey Barney, and you had 3 Nebraska offensive linemen on 1 USC defender. You complete that pass, I think it's 6 for Nebraska. Oh, man, if he doesn't drop that snap, that's another what-if moment for Nebraska. That thing was set up for a score.
But you fumble the snap, you lose 7, you're hosed. Fellas, it's the midnight hour shortly. We'll be back at you tomorrow. You get a little extra hour to sleep. That means Dolman can party as his Dodgers are back-to-back World Series champs. We are live at 10:30. 10:30, the Average Joe Sports Show Sunday Live. More on Nebraska SC, more on reaction to
so it's really 10:57 right now?
Yeah. You want to go another hour, Elijah, or are you going to jump out the window?
I think we need to leave some meat on the bone for tomorrow, and I also need to get my rewatch in before we talk some more about this football game, because I really need to see. Well, I'm not sure if you guys are aware. I was stuck standing on the corner of 11th and Salt Creek roadway. Is 11th? Yeah, 11th and Salt Creek for 30 minutes waiting for my Uber pickup.
30?
So, yeah.
Was it tight to get to the post-game show?
We were live about 3 minutes after I made it back to the station.
No, but I'm saying for you. I mean, was it rushing in?
I was stressed. I was stressed about making it here in time. So I was watching most of the fourth quarter from that the big screen on the northwest corner of the end zone. That was my view of the fourth quarter. So I do need to go back and do some rewatching of the fourth quarter. I had a pretty good sense of what was going on, but I need to go back and see some of those play calls once Latif was in to really get a full sense of Nebraska. I think it's the last play again. There's been discussions. Did EJ trip over his own feet or did he trip over Latif? I thought Latif's knee caught Emmett Johnson's foot on that 4th down play.
It comes down to repping and executing and Emmett slippage. Yeah, that wasn't good. And the throws downfield. So I've been bitching about not letting it rip, right? So they tried to go downtown a couple of times on some go balls, and they just weren't placed like some of Dylan's back shoulders are. That being said, you can go intermediate, and it's a question that Mark Spindler has asked a lot. Why is Lindenmeyer? You can find 8-yard hitch routes. You
had with that fourth quarter game plan. You had every single one of your wide receivers on one-on-one battles on the outside. I thought in that fourth quarter,
complete a slant, can't you?
I thought you could have play action it to Lindenmeyer to all hell with how much USC was keying on the screens and on the running plays. They were moving downhill quick. I thought you could have found Lindenmeyer a couple times in that fourth quarter and gotten the chains moving that way. Dana just did not look prepared to run an offense with TJ Lateef playing quarterback. And if that was the case, and you had a guy in Dylan Raiola that wanted to go, I think the question also needs to be asked, why didn't you give him a chance to go? I didn't think he looked right on the sideline, but Rule made it sound like Dylan wanted to go, and they made the decision to keep him off of the field, which may have been the right decision, but I don't think Dana looked prepared to call an offense with TJ Lateef at quarterback.
That's not acceptable.
I don't think Raiola could have. He went out there and danced around after he got hurt and before TJ's first snaps. And he did that, go back and see if he could throw, and he made it look like he was okay. And once they made the determination that it was going to be Lateef, I was watching this the whole time. Once they sent Lateef out there, the limps were much more noticeable from Raiola while he was on the sideline. So I think he was biting a bullet, grinning and bearing it, trying to make it look like he might be able to get back in there. But after they made the determination, I think it was truly a bad ankle that he could not have come back. And it would have been detrimental for him to be out there. He's immobile enough as it is to get him out there and be even less. They might as well just put a chair out there and let him sit down and get hit. So he wasn't going to go anywhere.
So here's my question. Are you worried about the phone call? Why didn't you play my kid? Or don't you dare play my kid?
No. I mean, look, we all know that there's influence on how things are going. That's naive to think that there's not. But I think it was just legitimate. Like, he can't go.
And rules, listen, rules take medically is I'm not going to put the guy out there to get murdered.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah, I think they did the smart thing. I think they did the smart game in game. I don't think they've done the smart thing leading up to it. He ought to be getting snaps in practice almost equal to the amount that the starter is getting and getting some with the starting unit because he's the number 2. That's part of earning the number 2 job is that you get to practice. So he can't just be a spectator in practice. He should have been ready. You never would have heard that when Tommy or anybody went down, blood clots. Well, it's Brooke Berringer. It's the same game plan. And you had a guy who was a much better passer than Tommy Frazier still running the option. Back in the day on the VHS tapes. But those guys were prepared in practice to play on Saturday when called upon. Not thrown out there without their ankles being taped, and having jeans on underneath their football pads because they were just out there for a mere formality. And I don't think it does TJ Lateef any justice. Are they trying to hide him so nobody will poach him when spring rolls around again? Is that why we're not playing players?
There's 100 different theories, right? I mean, we can get into.
Well, my take, and I want to hear more from Matt Rule and Dana Holgorsen and everybody, but I also don't think you're in a place where you're comfortable enough with your starter that you can throw him on the bench for half of practice and have your number 2 taking reps with the number 1s.
That's not what happened back in the day. There were stations around the field.
Well, and that's why I said earlier, I want the clarity. Is he not getting reps at practice or is he not getting reps with the number 1s? Not getting reps with the number 1s is defensible. Not getting reps is indefensible. That's what I want the clarification from Rule.
I told you what Darlington kind of uttered out loud. Go play like you practice. So
that's because guys got to play in practice.
But he was talking about Lateef, what he had seen in practice.
Yeah.
TJ practiced as well as what I heard him utter.
Right.
So, but it's who you practicing with, and
it looked like you had an offensive coordinator that was completely uncomfortable with the quarterback he had in for the fourth quarter. That's what I saw.
And you know what? I've been and I still am a big Dana guy. You expect better in these moments. As much as they harp on practice and next man up, you expect mean, Nebraska for years has made the backup quarterback, the other team's backup quarterback, look like an All-American. You knock out Nebraska's starter, the second guy comes in, and what happens? And TJ played hard and played well, but wasn't given a chance to go win it. Uttered for the 8,000th time tonight.
I would agree that I think it's disappointing that Dana Holgerson did not have, he's got the menu for this restaurant. He decided not to go there, so he whips out the menu for the other restaurant and says, this is what we're going to do because this is what this guy can do. And I did think that there were some reins put on what TJ Lateef can do. There was that quarterback draw on third down. I thought that was a good play, and the offensive line missed the block. Otherwise, that would have gone for a first down and some big yardage. It was a good play call.
It's also, I mean, I thought it was a little predictable.
It was, but you can do that with that guy.
It's a draw. At least you have that in your arsenal now to call.
Right, and he could execute it. It would shock the world if you had that play call in there for Dylan Raiola. We're going to run a QB draw with Dylan.
Gray Woman 79, Dana has no second menu because he won't eat at a different restaurant. It's funny. Elijah, be good, brother. Love you. Thanks for everything today.
Hey, can I say something? You guys would be really proud of this. Justice Rhodey called the game tonight for KRNU, and I was so pleased that you guys brought him on board to work with you, and I know we got a limited audience right now. But Justice Rhodey called the game tonight with Brady Alderson on the student station and was amazing.
He is amazing.
It was his. I'll guarantee you that Mark Morgan called the game, or Mike, whatever his name is, called the game for the national radio broadcast. I'm not going to compare him to Noah Eagle. I believe Kyle Crooks is doing a fine job as the Nebraska voice, but our boy Justice Rhodey and Brady Alderson and Christopher Sullivan Diaz and Colin Dalvan and Beck Frazier that were on my team today on KRNU was as fine a student broadcast as you will hear anywhere in the country. And we just had a team that won a national championship, if you will. Won first place in play-by-play calling.
Awesome.
Jake Schrontz and Harmon Johnson, first place above all the schools. What Justice and Brady did tonight did you guys proud. You work with him every day. I appreciate that. But that was an amazing call by an amazing young man. You should be proud of the work you do with him.
That's awesome. Justice is money. We're super happy for him. A heck of a ball game to call. And we'll get on it tomorrow. Tiger Shark. Oh, that's funny. Says even though Justice is from Oklahoma, he might be a double agent. He's warming on me. I was kind of reading the Tiger Shark comment about smoking hash. I was looking at that part.
I'm not sure he's getting an A in my class. I just said he did a nice job tonight.
Well, we can laugh. Husker fans back at it tomorrow with the Average Joe Sunday Live. That's Elijah Herbal. That's Pratt of Fairbury, Bill Dolman, Chris Schmidt. We're powered by Slim Chickens, Real Red Reaction. And thanks for tuning in. Check out the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. Subscribe to the Average Joe Sports Show. Subscribe to Real Red Reaction, Facebook and Twitter with KFOR. And find us on Twitter with the Average Joes at Average Joe Sports Show, AJ Sports Pod, AJ Sports Radio. Elijah, get that rewatch in. And we'll be back tomorrow, 10:30, here with the Average Joes and KFOR.